Yo, what is up with it? Welcome to an emergency episode of Radio Melee. That's right, we usually do this on Tuesdays, but we got me, we got PP, and of course the man himself, who's currently streaming. So what's up to everybody in Bobby's stream, who was already streaming before this? We're doing an emergency episode of Radio Melee because we feel like, I think a lot of people have a lot of questions. What the hell is going on in the Melee community right now? And what can we do, right? Like, I want to make this about, like,
that's the question, Toph.
Right. And I want to get to the callers, pretty soon. Usually we spend 15, 20 minutes at the start, kind of interviewing whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you're completely out of the loop, basically, Panda and Nintendo basically just TLDR just shut down the Smash World Tour, putting VGBC, probably the oldest streaming organization in Smash, in a ton of financial trouble, as well as, we've got big question marks for what we're going to do for the rest of the year, basically, right? And what does this mean for tournaments? So people who have questions, people who have takes, and people who have suggestions, we want to hear from you. How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing all right, my friend. I'm doing all right. I had a lot that I needed to say. I got it all off of my chest, and now I feel like has your mind ever gone a little bit blank after you kind of like say everything you need to say?
Yes. Yeah, it's like...
But I remember what I said, so I can repeat myself, but yeah.
I was sitting in for a bit. I liked a lot of the stuff you were saying.
I just did not I listened to the Melee on Me this morning, and I had some things that I wanted to add. So I'm glad that I'm able to stream and that the people found the channel.
I think there was a lot of great discussion. Like, even, dude, your stream, I didn't get to catch any. I guess Aiden streamed for a little bit. I think his perspective very valuable as someone who's run a lot of events.
Oh yeah, right? I really want to listen to whatever Aiden said.
Yeah. But I think as all of these, what I think is the most important to me. I think here's what I want to kind of get off my chest, because I was thinking about it this morning as well. Like, the weapon that I think we have, and I'm just going to put this out there up front because this is kind of where I'm coming from. The weapon we have as the community is like, first of all, we have each other, but also, like, if I want to talk about a literal weapon. Like, what we have against Nintendo is basically PR, right? Like, if we can make this a PR backlash, if we band together the way that we did after EVO, remember EVO 2013 when they tried to shut the tournament down, shut the stream down? We got to make that happen again. If we show them, like, hey, don't fuck with us because that's going to fuck with your bottom line, like, that's something we can do. And so the more people out there understand what the problem is, and the more people out there, like, understand how fucked up this is, and the more riled up people feel the way we feel, like, I think that's going to do so much good, which is why we're here.
Absolutely. And before anything else gets added, if you could let, you don't have to go through everything again, Scar, but I'm sure many people here would really appreciate, and maybe even some that joined your stream a little late would love to hear, some of the things that, you added that you felt, you felt really called to add. I'm sure people would still feel very interested and inspired by that.
Sure. And yeah, totally. Toph, I feel you too. The biggest thing that I wanted to think about is, like, okay, I think that it would be beautiful if Nintendo and Melee could have a nice, calm relationship. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But with the benefit of history, I feel that we know that we're just not good for each other, And that I was really focusing on what happens in bad or toxic relationships. I mean, a lot of the time, it's difficult to get out of them. And little random things will bring these participants back together into a relationship, even though it's not good for pretty much either of them. And I was sort of talking about how, in my sense, is that there was one individual, as far as I could tell, which is on the Panda side of things, who sort of brought us back into a relationship this year. And this is kind of the consequence of, us being in Nintendo's awareness, in the Eye of Sauron. So I feel like, we should not be looking to kind of get back into a relationship with Nintendo if possible. And my question for most of the stream was, are they trying to be in relationship with us? Or, is it just that when we're forced together, sometimes they need to C&D events? That was my biggest question. And I really feel like we need to wait and see what's going to happen. Is Nintendo going to approach our major events and, compel us to work with them? Are they going to be aggressive about, C&Ding events or anything like that? I don't really think so. It's not really what they've done.
Right.
As far as I can tell, they don't really want to be in relationship with the community, and they would love for us to be able to, do what we're going to do. But I feel like we just kind of got in the mix this time.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel personally like blaming Nintendo too much right now, because I just don't know what tools they have outside of, shutting things down. I feel like I feel really bad about what happened, obviously, but,
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like I'm kind of the same mind, right? Like I feel like we know that there are certain people within Nintendo who would love for nothing more than just to be able to look the other way. And it's like when I love your analogy of like, I don't know,
the bad relationship.
Toxic relationship. Yeah. Or like, just two forces that can't be near each other because bad things happen, right? It's like
bad things are happening.
We are forcing by forcing the Smash community near Nintendo. Basically, they're saying, well, we're forced to. It was the same thing with the last time this happened, right? Big House Online. That was because I think the public speculation. I think the overall what people kind of decided was probably the reason they felt like they were forced to act was because Big House was an official licensed partnered event or whatever. And they're like, oh, you are partnered with us. Like they never talked to Summit. They never shut down any of the Summit online events because they didn't have that kind of relationship. But with Big Us, they did. And so they were like, well, we need to shut that down because we can't be publicly seen as having an official partner that's running like a mod or what have you.
Right.
But if we don't know, then we're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? And so, I think that that's a very reasonable take.
That was the first thing that I wanted to stress was, let's see if they come to us, and obviously we're not going to them asking if we can run a circuit. That's right. As community leaders and as tournament organizers, we should know that it's not a great idea to go to Nintendo and ask them for anything. Yeah. And the second thing that I wanted to think about was, let's say that we just continue living. I don't think we're doing anything wrong as a community. I know that the Melee community is basically a group of people who really like a video game and like to play it together. And so I know we're not breaking any laws or, hurting people in the world. Like I just don't feel like we're in the wrong in general. So what I wanted to figure out is, what can we do if we're just trying to live our lives and we are, someone's hosting a major tournament and for whatever reason, Nintendo or any other organization tries to shut us down. What can we do? And from my perspective, like I've just heard of a lot of tournaments that have to go to the hotel and say, hey, we're not going to have people coming. And obviously the hotel doesn't want to give money back. And we have a venue and nobody's going to be there and we have to pay for that. So my 2 cents was, is there some way that we could salvage the event and have people still come, but, right, we want to abide by the C&D. We don't want to stream the event, but can we not still have the event? Can we not record the VODs? Can we not talk about what's happening in the event to the viewers? Can we not have a stream that doesn't have gameplay, basically, and use it as an opportunity to raise awareness for the good parts of Melee, and that's also, just to be there, what I've been saying is make it a protest. That's my key word. It's just going to be a protest. We either have a tournament or we have a protest, and I'm going either way. What I said is actually, if it's a protest, then I'm probably going to be more likely to go than if it's a tournament.
I got to immediately shout out, by the way. Because I know, however many of you that are listening to this, all of y'all from the PM community, I know y'all don't always feel like the broader, wider Smash community always does you guys justice, but the PM community is so fucking scrappy. They do this all the time, right? They don't run, hey, we're not going to be at, what's a good example? Riptide. We're not going to be at Riptide, but hey, we got a little grassroots thing just down the hall called Shipwrecked. And we'll just be there playing video games. If anyone wants to go check that out. Hey, it's not Riptide, it's Shipwrecked, or they do these variations of the tournament. I got to shout them out because the scrappiness, they definitely have been much more under that scrutiny from the Eye of Sauron and I think there's a lot we can learn. But
And that's what
I don't know.
I think it might have to be. But I don't think that's what it's going to be. I really also don't want to overreact to what happened in the past couple days, and I just don't believe that all of a sudden Nintendo's going to be reaching out to all of our major events saying we need to be working together. I just don't see that happening.
I don't think we're in that.
Maybe it will, but
timeline yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly fair, right? Like with the Smash World Tour thing, I mean, even if you read the VGBC article, the Medium write up, it was like they last year, like a year and a half ago, when Panda Cup got announced, they were like, "Oh, we're probably gonna have to shut down. We're a competing product. It's gonna be all bad." They thought that was the world they were living in, probably because they're a competing product and they're not licensed, right? It's reasonable to, from the point of view of what's actually practically happening. It's very reasonable that SWT specifically is a target because they're competing with they're directly competing with a product, right? An official product, which is the Panda Cup. But there's a very real case that individual tournaments, Genesis, Big House, etc., those aren't going to be seen by Nintendo as competitors in that sense. There's a very real chance that SWT is particularly under fire because of the nature of it being a circuit and not just an isolated event. So yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. We got some potential callers with probably a lot to say. I think our first caller is going to be a very beloved TO and somebody who I did shout out on my stream yesterday is running one of the events that I personally look forward to going to the most every year, which is Battle of BC. Welcome, Deer. And what do you got for us today?
Hey, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, great to hear from you guys. I really appreciate you guys putting on this emergency radio melee. My head's kind of just been spinning these past 24 hours a lot. I heard this news early yesterday, and one of my team members from Gallant is actually the one responsible for having booked everyone's flights for Smash World Tour. And he's the one currently going through it all right now, dealing with everything.
What does dealing with everything mean exactly? Is he trying to? What does that mean?
I'm not too sure how much I can say on his behalf here, but it is just figuring out what happens with these flights. Really, now that this event is canned for next month or in like 2 weeks, this event is canned, so it's dealing with these flights. And all of this mess. I feel like I'm someone who's definitely caught a lot in the middle, behind the scenes on a lot of this stuff. I'm supposed to be, or I was set to be, the Panda Cup tournament organizer next month as well. And there's just zero way in good faith I can be doing that right now, given all that's happened here.
Have you had any contact with anyone from Panda?
That's the craziest thing. That's the most eerie, scary thing of all of this is I think that everybody right now in this scene, apart from like the Allen level, I guess, like is just so
bewildered
by this whole thing and bewildered, right? For lack of a better word, right? Because Smash World Tour, like you really have to think how much work has gone into Smash World Tour and just how many people are being so gutted by this. Think of all the international players who grinded this year to get those qualifiers and whatnot. Players like Chag, who traveled literally around the world to 10 different countries to qualify, right? And that's cut. Think about all of the work that went into planning this tournament for next month. I know a lot of the people behind the scenes who have been tirelessly working. But also, think of how much Allen has now fucked the Panda World Tour finals as well, right? Organizations behind the scenes of that. Like, wait, sorry if I'm not allowed to swear on this part of me, but
no, you're allowed.
Organizations like the production partners, right? The production partners, this was going to be one of their biggest gigs of the year. They were so set for this. And now there's a world where Panda Cup finals don't even happen. I don't know what's happening with my stuff on there, right? Like, I have my flights booked, everything booked. Overall, yeah, it's a really stressful time behind the scenes, and VGBC like potentially also about to just disappear, because it's not like VGBC has been raking in money all these years. They've been working very, very hard, super caringly and passionately for the scene, doing so much. But they're not living crazy lavish lives. They're not making crazy amounts of money, and now they're about to lose so much money and lose so much of their company for next year, which was their events.
Dude, you know what the shittiest and craziest thing to me about all of this is the craziest thing
Mm.
that even from Nintendo's perspective, to me, it makes no fucking sense.
Mhm.
Because if you were going to do this, they
Mhm.
picked just about the worst way.
Wednesday night
possible.
before
The
Thanksgiving.
worst timing and the worst way to do it. They maximized negative press, right? If they wanted to
Hold
shut
on,
down
there
the
was a
Smash Bros.
Mario
They could-
announcement on the same day. That's the
Mario announcement
craziest
on the same
shit.
and they could have, right? Because if they wanted to get rid of the competing product, they could have because they were talking with VGBC for, according to the timeline in the article, well over a year, right? They were in communication for months and months
I
and months. And months and
corroborate
months and
they
months.
have been. They've been
And they
talking
could have,
since.
and they could have said, and they were letting them operate without a license for many events. And they could have said, okay, listen, like, we can't let you guys run forever. You're a competing product. We want to support the Panda Cup because they're our official partner. So, like, don't run next year or whatever. But, like, we're going to, like, they could have done that, right? They could have done that, and they could have done it in a way where Gimmer's not suddenly out of venue 3 weeks before the event. Makes no fucking sense. Like, the way they went about it, shutting it down the last possible moment, they have to know this was just the worst way. Even on Nintendo's part, they could have had it be very quiet, right? And
The worst
Smash
thing
Bros.
is, like,
Just says, hey,
Gimmer
we're not
told us,
running next year.
Gimmer gave the warning, right? Like, in the messages, Gimmer clearly has said, like, you guys recognize, like, when Gimmer realized they weren't playing, that this was them just straight cutting it, he was like, you guys, like, recognize if we cancel this, like, 3 weeks before, the outcome of that and how many people you're going to negatively impact. And they said yes. And then for them to later on in Kotaku articles backpedal that and say that they didn't
Insane.
say you can cancel it, when in writing we have you are not allowed to run this event without a license. Like, I just don't understand that.
It's
in the
baffling.
slightest. It's baffling.
It doesn't even make sense when you consider it from Nintendo's perspective.
Right.
It doesn't even make sense. It's negligent at best, and it's outright just dirty at worst.
Yep.
But it's crazy. They could have done it in such a classier way,
Mhm.
and they could have done it in a way where I think it would have been like, okay, we get it. Like, you can't run Smash World Tour next year, but they, let everything finish, let everything. But the way they did it, costing the community. I mean, the plane tickets alone, the plane tickets that they had to book for all the players alone, that's so much fucking money, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
it was almost like they did it as a fuck you on purpose. That's
Yep.
the shit that gets me.
It's just to make. I mean, targeted very much so to make the Smash World Tour just not a problem
Ugh.
for next year that they have to deal with.
Anyway.
All of this sucks. Nintendo just holds a really important key for tournament organizers behind the scenes of that, like, coveted Nintendo license, because without that thumbs up and green light from Nintendo, there are a lot of partners who are just not going to touch our scene or work with us, which sucks because we should also say, like, okay, well, then if they don't want to work with us, like, we don't need them. But, like, to some extent, we do need money to run crazy, big, insane majors and whatnot, right? And in the past years, it's felt like all tournaments, the bigger ones, are just trying to become these crazy top tier esports majors. But I like what Scar has been saying earlier today and the people I've been talking about, that the actionable things that we can go doing into 2023 are focused on what Melee really does best, which is, like, our local communities, our regional events. And instead of trying to host crazy majors every freaking weekend, which is what it's been in 2022, at least so far, people are so burnt out from back-to-back majors. It's just focused more on lots of high-quality regionals around the world, right? It's like a Hydra. You can't, like, CND, like, your CND1 regional, some other organizer in the next fucking city is gonna just run another regional. Like, so I think the regional boom is what we need next year to really grow our shit and, like, strengthen our scene, as opposed to everybody competing in an already saturated market trying to run 3,000 person tournaments every weekend. Yeah, that's just my
Yep.
take right now as the tournament organizer and what I'm planning to action towards doing stuff on.
I mean, what I think the best thing is that if there's one thing we're very, very good at as a community, it's playing the fucking game, right? Like, at the end of the day, yeah, I think there are thousands of people out there who are going to say, "Oh shit, I can't go to this, like, crazy ass major." Okay, well, what tournament am I going to go to, or what can we do in lieu of that? What's the next best thing? And we've done that for 20 years. We're going to keep doing it.
Yep, for sure. Long live Melee. I'm excited. There's so much more Melee to be played, and
Long
this
live
is
Melee,
just a road
baby.
bump, man. This is just another road bump that we're going to just have to deal with. Sucks
Yeah.
that it went down this way because so many good people at Panda got hurt, so many good people at Smash World Tour got hurt, just so many people in the scene got hurt. sucks to see people hurting. Sucks to see people in our own scene, our friends and family, go through this. Yeah, hurts.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
thank you. Thank
for
you for
the
the call,
time.
dear. Yeah,
Appreciate
we're gonna
it.
get looks like Jack Sill is gonna be our next caller, but thank you so much for calling in, dear, and
Thank you.
appreciate it. Much love.
Cheers. Have a good one. Much love. See you.
Jackzilla.
Hello.
Hello. Jackzilla, I was when I streamed last night, I really liked your tweet, by the way. Obviously, you know, there's a lot going on, but I really liked your something you brought up, right? Was like the speculation that like, okay, is Panda Cup banking on like the normie audience to offset the massive blow obviously this is going to take to their credibility with the competitive scene, and like that it just doesn't fucking work that way. I thought that was a really smart
I
point.
got the villain speeches. I think that they made a smart move in one of the earlier tournaments, which was they brought in me and Chroma, and we were like, oh shit, we got to delete all the tweets where we are shitting all over this partnership and this potential, and I'm tweeting out Lucy and the football, and they paid us off briefly when we were at our the most financially vulnerable point we were in our lives, but we got just enough of a taste, and I mean, all the things people say are true. Right, the people that work Panda, by and large, the actual people who run these events, who run these streams, who make the content you like, are just like, you know, any of us here. They are trying to make a living off Melee, to make money off Melee, right? The promise of Melee FC, and they want to do good stuff. And so I buy the argument that this is essentially one guy with a vision that, hey, you don't actually need these grassroots audiences where streams get, you know, 10,000 viewers, way less on Fridays and Saturdays. You could go for the normie audience. Smash sells 28 million copies. You know, if we can get those people to watch competition, even at a way lower percent, we don't really need to deal with the eccentricities of the grassroots scene.
And that's how I know, by the way, that's how I know they've never actually talked to normie Smash fans. I used to work at a company where I would play Smash Ultimate with my coworkers, and I would shit on them with my hero, by the way. I would thwack them, and I would whack them, and sometimes I'd even psych up. Okay?
Oh, I thought you were going to rhyme a third time. Well, you're also a god gamer. I am not.
I'm a god
Ultimate.
gamer. I am a god gamer. That is true. So, but listen. You know what? And they kind of generally, vaguely knew that I would go to these tournament things, right? And I would show. And then after work at 5 p.m., I'd go to the little game lounge, and they're turbo casuals, and I would play them in Smash Ultimate, and I would shit on them. But
they're the saltiest people on earth.
Listen. They are absolutely the saltiest people on earth. But when I would come home from a major, and they would kind of vaguely know that I would go to these things. You know what they would ask me? They'd be like, oh, that fucking MK Leo guy, he's so fucking good. Huh? That guy's crazy. Oh, shit, I fucking love blah, blah, blah. You know, like it isn't... People think normie to competitive Smash player is a binary. And it's you're either over here or you're over here. And there's no in between. That's not how it fucking works. That's not how it works. When you turn on a super major stream on Top 8 Sunday and there's 70,000 people in the chat, those aren't all competitive players. That's not what's going on. Those are people coming in and out who heard about it from their sister or their brother or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, what is this? Oh damn, this MK Leo guy's hella good. Oh, this Zane guy and Mango. Oh, Mango, I remember him. Yeah, I used to watch him at Evo 6 years ago. Oh shit, Mango's still playing. That's cool. Oh damn, this Amsa guy from Japan's crazy. This guy plays Yoshi. Wow. Like it's not a fucking people like. If you actually interacted with like normie smashers, you would know it's not
they're
going to be
cringe. Actually, they're so Nintendo pilled. They're like, why are you changing the rules? Why are you making it all that stuff? But this is what I really wanted to talk about is the plus one on a lot of the energy that I heard from Scar. I was saying this not to sound like Blur, but I'm going to sound like Blur. I was saying this to Blur in 2021. I had this like moment where I connected the various political things I believe in Melee, and I was like, holy shit, this idea that we can ever make it big and be this stable giant thing, it is fundamentally at odds with what we're doing here. Everybody said, from Nintendo's perspective, it makes no fucking sense. It makes perfect sense to me. All this outrage for 99% of a $95 billion company or whatever they is, they do not hear us. We are constantly told that they have this panopticon, You know, like you said, I was told at the Panda Cup that there will definitely be Nintendo people watching. There were times when it was like, hey, they went back and forth on whether or not we could reference Pokemon Stadium because of the IP and copyrights around Pokemon. And it was like 3 minutes before we got on that it was like, yeah, you could say Pokemon. Just insane. So sure, maybe some Nintendo people are glancing, but let me tell you, they aren't listening. The organism that is Nintendo has no real ability to fight a wide legal battle against locals, against people restreaming, against people IRL streaming. The only way that this works for them is if we're scared and if they can hit things one at a time. It's these companies like Nintendo and Disney that operate and like landlords in the sense for their intellectual property. They want to own the things that we build on top of. They are not in the business of making shit, or at least them making shit is just part of it. They are in the business of intellectual monopoly, which means they suck at competition. They suck at being smart. Their goal is legal brute force because they don't need to be good at the other stuff. You know,
Right.
Guy invents the steam engine that goes to the king for a patent. Another guy invents an improvement and gets sued for 25 years before we can actually kick off the Industrial Revolution. So this shit is a continuation of a problem that is as old as building shit and Industrial Revolution itself. Okay? This is one arm of it. So when Scar says, or anybody else says, tournaments should be a protest, they have been a protest. They've never wanted us here. And so the real thing that we got to do is wake up that this has been the deal the whole time. So what are we going to do to make ourselves really good at this part of the competition? So that's, I'm mad about it. But I also agree with Bobby. Do not despair, right? Despair implies that you know the future. You don't know the future.
No, dude, we didn't bring back the Evo 2013 stream by despairing, right? Like,
no,
True.
we
and
brought
they were
that up.
bullshitting.
They were bullshitting. Yeah. And there's some bullshit going on. And I also want to emphasize, like, this is a fucking developing story. That Kotaku shit, like, there is going to be more on that front. Because I mean, I have to imagine, you know, Gimmer and Apostle and the team have a lot going on right now. But that's a conversation that, you know, we're waiting to hear the results of, right? Insane that the medium of choice is via this the amendments to this Kotaku article, and that's the way that this mysterious Nintendo spokesperson is going about this. But yeah, I don't know that we still don't know what the result of that conversation is going to be.
We're getting gaslit, man, and we gotta start doing something. Call the bluffs. I think that all the other TOs are who are active. I haven't been active as a TO in a little bit. Now I'm a fucking game show host. They're gonna have more potent things on the cost of us waking up to this because it's not free, right? It means production values potentially suffer at some of the large events. It means it's not as easy for us to pay for hotel and flight, for talent, for people that are competing. It's not easy to do appearance fees for players. This shit is not going to be free. So there's a cost that's going to come. But in my opinion, we've already been paying a cost the whole time, and we just keep compromising and compromising. First, it was like, well, Project M is a mod, right? So like we can understand why they're going to go after the mod. And it's like, well, Slippy Online, that is a little weird. The game doesn't have online, so that makes sense. Why? And you just chip away and away and away. I think we just got to wake up to what's going on. They aren't listening.
That's my big question. My big question is like, what can we do in the like could we have? I don't know. Could we have called it out sooner? Could we have? Maybe the answer is just no. Maybe we needed some big event like this to kind of put the brakes on this. It sounds like everyone I know besides Alan, who works at Panda, did not know this shit was happening, right?
Your friend
like,
Alan, you're good.
My good buddy Alan. No, like Coney, right? Coney tweeted today. Like Coney was like, "This is crazy," and I don't. It sounds like everybody. Deer, who just called in, right? Deer was going to be the head TO for Panda Cup. It sounds like for the melee side.
I hear that, but even when I was talking to Coney at Panda events, there was fear there. There's fear in Nintendo. There was definitely a positive vision. Maybe we can turn this scene into something sustainable where IBDW doesn't have to do a fucking sub goal to pay rent, right? Maybe that's a valid thing to care about. And people that like protect copyright law, They make the case, this protects artists. Nintendo makes a game, amazing people at HAL Development want to get paid for it. Copyright law makes that happen. That's the lie. You buying the game makes it happen, makes them pay the bills. The copyright law is so that they can bully us 20 years later. HAL Development isn't getting a cent from any of this. So don't ever believe that the legal scheme that we're up against is something that was handed down by God on high to say, oh yeah, this is the best way to run an economy. This is a dog shit way to run an economy when you see passionate people creating amazing things that are valuable and they're told that they got to stop and instead do nothing. Do nothing. It's madness. So that's why Nintendo thinks this way. They do not think like a business. Stop thinking of them as a traditional business like BTS, like VGB. BTS and VGBC, they had beef. They were competing.
It's like small scale businesses can be reasonable, but I think the higher you get, actually, I'm pretty sure I have it on good authority that they lobotomize half of the brains of people who make it high up enough on the corporate ladder. So the truth is that they actually don't even have their whole brain to think.
Yeah.
People at Nintendo, they're actually
not to
feel bad for
disclose
them
too
in a
much.
sense.
Bobby, I work in management consulting.
Yeah, so I mean, you're probably working with. And did you know that if you have like a senior VP at Twitch role open, if you're already lobotomized, it's a fast track to get the job.
Well, what I think happens is inside a company, once you start making your money not working and just on collecting the checks from your legal proceeds, the competition turns inward. And now you have middle managers who start to vie for their fiefdoms. And I'm the troll under the bridge, and I make my money not by making something new, but because I guard the information. I make myself indispensable. So you can't fire me because then these projects will fall apart. This happens to big corporations because they stop making their money on competing in a marketplace and they start making their money on what we call rents, right?
Becoming a fucking cancer.
Yeah.
You're describing a cancer.
Yeah, and it turns inward. And that's why it feels so horrible to work at these places, because you're no longer thinking about the people outside and something cool that you could make. You're thinking about how you beat the guy 3 teams over and think 10 years ahead about how I'm going to make myself the troll under the bridge. And that'll be, my resume and my way of acquiring power and job security. And everybody in that system is also hurting, right? They've been hurt by somebody. You know how many people in these corporate environments are freaking traumatized by a horrible experience they had with a boss early in their career?
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
That doesn't go away.
Dude.
Well, in any case, I think that with all this, like I feel like Melee could be a place where we're more or less out of that system.
Yeah.
I love that we can play Melee for how many years now? 21 years, and the game keeps getting deeper. And we haven't paid extra money for DLC, and I think that Melee is a beautiful game, and I think that we as the community, we're people who are making it available to others, and I think we're just going to keep doing that. I'm not so worried if we have to change our approach to streaming, and running tournaments. Like those are all solvable problems. I think that we have a lot of options, and we just got to keep moving forward and doing what we do and taking it one step at a time. And staying out of relationship with these lobotomized and non-thinking and insane organizations as best we can.
Yeah, I'm here because I couldn't make friends my freshman year of college. I moved away from home, so nobody I knew was there. And Smash is how I made friends. It took me a while. It was like that or marching band, and I was a little sick of marching band. And if it comes to it, fuck it. We'll find a way to make a 1-to-1 Melee clone with public domain characters. You have the Cheshire Cat as Jigglypuff, with the long tail or something. I think Melee is really, when you start to spread your wings, live your life, look around at how different communities interact with games, with activities. It is really, really different how we have taken a vacant property that the landlord abandoned and turned it into the best place to be, right? And where we failed, that's on us, right? And to make the party a little better. But I believe in squatters' rights, at least in this case. And if we lose that battle, then at least we fought it. But I'm sick. I'm so sick of being scared.
Yeah. Yeah. Well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
Well said, Jack. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks for
Appreciate
letting
that.
me rant.
No, absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Gonna get our
Jack.
next caller on. Thank you,
I
Jack.
gotta go too, but let me raid this channel. Where do you're live on Golden Guardians?
We are on
Toph or mine, whichever one you want
both
to do.
my channel as well as PP's, which means that half of you come to my chat and half of you go to PP's, or just all of you just we should.
Who's gonna be live after this is over? That's the question.
If it would be anyone, it would be me. Are you gonna stream after this, PP?
No.
Here's what we should do. I'm gonna start a squad stream with you right now, PP, and that way we both get both viewers.
Ooh.
Woo!
You know what I'm saying? So just rate.
It actually doesn't work that way, but whatever. I had to release.
Sure.
I had to release that feature. Believe it or not.
Really? You don't get a view for both?
No.
Dude.
How am I not getting it? Toph BBQ, one word. Raid space Toph BBQ.
Yeah. Well, I'm inviting PP to a squad stream anyway. We should really do this every
time.
Tuesday.
Yeah, you should still do it. I would still do it.
Should still do it.
But
Bobby, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to leave us with?
if it's not a tournament, it's a protest. Let's go anyway.
Yeah.
Let's protest. I think that
into
stream would be dope. I honestly would really love to watch a stream where, you know, there's a Melee tournament going on in the background, but it's not about the tournament. It's just a celebration of Melee. I think that's what we're talking about. And I think if we keep doing that, we're going to be all right. Let's keep celebrating the game. Let's take it one step at a time. The world hasn't ended. Some people did get screwed, and that really does suck. But I just don't think this is like some huge seismic shift in the entire future of the community. And even if it is, I know we'll adapt. A Yoshi won a super major. Like if Amsa could beat the best Marth and the best Fox and the best, come on, we got this. We've got years to figure it out. So that's what I would say. That's what I did say.
Love a message of hope.
That's all. That's what it is, Kevin. But thank you. Thanks for having me on. And sorry that I didn't say anything and then left. But I will. You're welcome for all the viewers. And thank you to the viewers.
Thank you, Scar. We really appreciate it, man.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Peace. All right. Well, we have more callers lined up for Toph and myself. We got a question coming in that I believe is for Toph now. What's up, Punk? What's your question for us today?
Punk, what's up, man?
You are muted.
Punk is indeed muted.
Oh, there we go.
All right, there we go. Now I'm unmuted. So,
What is up?
hello. Hope everyone's doing all right despite the circumstances. Hope things are going well in other areas of people's lives. So something that I have been thinking a lot about since I started being able to attend tournaments somewhat recently is, and it's a very different. It's one of the big differences between watching and going to a tournament as just a way to like consume that event. It's very different watching something in person, not just because you feel the energy, but when you have watched for upwards of a decade with commentators, and then
Yeah.
you're there in person and you don't hear them, it really makes you reassess what that brings to the experience. And the most recent major that I went to was Blacklisted 7. A lot of people might not be familiar with a major by that name. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's strictly just P+. It's not a Shadow major. The only game there was P+. And one of my favorite commentators of all time was there, Studebaker.
Mm-hmm.
And
She was awesome.
there's been a lot of talk about individuals such as like Junebug, Wisely, and Studebaker having difficulty with or being blacklisted. Funny that word comes up again, from commentating more like sanitized like esports organization events
Sure,
because
yeah.
of ties to PM.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, it's absolutely infuriating, and I can't even begin to imagine what it feels like for someone in that position.
Right.
But for someone who has, for years, been commentating events with much, much greater numbers and have had people from, like, it just casts generally a wider net, and you've refined it and you've sort of become like a reference point for how to do commentary for Melee correctly.
Yeah.
Because you've commentated things like the Smash Flash 2 Invitational, you commentated Project M Theater. Do you feel like that threat of being blacklisted is something that outweighs like the following and the demand for your commentary that you've cultivated over time? Or do you think that the side of the people who are listening to you stands to be more powerful going forward?
Right. I think for me, are you basically asking, like, do I feel like I stand to lose anything from doing these events like PM Theater? Like, am I worried about the potential backlash from Nintendo or what have you? The way that people like Studebaker have came out and basically said, like, hey, yeah, they actually talked to it. Like, is that kind of like the...
Yeah, and if there is any sort of backlash like that, do you think that will outweigh what
I
you
think
get
for
from
me,
going to
yeah,
those
no,
events?
good question. I think for me, like, ultimately, dude, like, I'm very fortunate to have a backup plan, right? For me, if they say, hey, you actually can't commentate, like we were talking about it last night when Blur was on, we're on a call, and it was like, bro, when it's Jordan Kent, fucking love Jordan Kent, by the way. Sorry, it's not about you, Jordan Kent. Don't, not, yeah, anyway. When it's Jordan Kent and a clone of Jordan Kent and they're commentating whatever Super Smash Brothers Melee Vanilla No UCF Grand Finals with Unfrozen Stadium in 2025 Panic Cup, whatever the fuck, and I'm not allowed to commentate anymore, and Blur's not allowed to commentate, and Scar's not allowed to commentate anymore, whatever. Like for me, I am fortunate to have a backup plan, right? Like I will just go back to working a fucking desk job, or I'll become much more invested in, let's say, content creation. I just won't go to fucking events and I'll just become a fucking streamer like full time. And like for me, like I've always abided by, like I didn't get into commentary to make it a career, right? I got into commentary because I loved Super Smash Brothers Melee the game, and I like talking about Super Smash Brothers Melee the game. And in particular, at the time I got into it, I didn't feel like any of the existing commentators were doing what I kind of wanted to do with my commentary. So I was like, cool, there's a niche, I want to fill it, and that's always been my guiding principle. I have the thing that I care about, which is Super Smash Brothers Melee the game, and like I want to be infectious when I commentate and spread that joy to other people, right? Like that's like my only guiding principle. And then I have other things I care about. I care about people not being fucking snakes. And so, for me, I have my path, right? My path is I will commentate the events that I believe in. I will work with the people I believe in, and whatever happens to me happens. And I understand that not everybody is fortunate enough to kind of be in this situation. And I got extremely lucky in that sense. But I have never really given it much more thought than that. Like for me, if Nintendo comes and they say, hey, you're doing this PM theater thing, so you can't do Melee events anymore because blah, 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 blah. Like for me, I'll be like, all right, cool. Then I'll see you later. Right? Like that's as far as I've ever that's as far as I've ever given it thought, and I'm not interested in playing that game. I'm not interested in playing the game where, I'm playing I don't want to play that politics game, right? Like I'll do something else. And I think it's fucking downright, I'll say right now, it's downright fucking despicable what seems to be happening with Studebaker and Junebug and Wisely. Because they're wonderful, and it's I don't know, it's very strange. It's very strange, and I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. In particular because it's like, dude, like what, like fucking some of the biggest Ultimate commentators came up on PM. You know what I'm saying? Like, in fact, like pretty much all the biggest Ultimate commentators, like the ones that work all the fucking official Nintendo whatever, like a lot of them commentated PM. So like I don't, you know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah, no. There
to
was
me
a
it's
point in
to me it's
time
absurd.
where
To me it's absurd.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that because I mean, when I think of this is still stuck with me. It's not as much the case anymore, but I do remember there being a time where if you told someone you were into competitive Smash Bros, that meant you
yeah,
played P. If you liked
there
Smash
was
Bros,
a
you
time.
played, that could have meant you played any of the games. But like it was like Call of Duty Pro Mod, but for Smash. Like that was the competitive rule set from like an outside perspective. That's how people kind of approached it. That didn't last for too long, but at its apex, I think that's how it was. And so this idea of blacklisting, not only like morally or like conceptually like disgusting, but there's no way to do it that isn't arbitrary. It just seems so flawed and it's just this thing that Nintendo has been doing for so long, where you try to make the community look more divided than it is.
Right. Yeah. It's. No, I'm absolutely with you there, Bug. Absolutely with you there.
So, do you have any concern about these people like Studebaker and so on? Do you think even if we were to do a strategy for a bunch of regionals as opposed to something else, that Nintendo might specifically target some commentators there, maybe like even the day before or the day of, something like that, to affect the overall production or anything like that? Do you think there's a concern and any sort of strategy that you think TOs need to take, or any sort of concern that other commentators might need to take? So for you yourself, you seem like you're fine, and that's great. I do love that for sure. I'm just wondering what you might think for some of the other commentators that may not feel the same as you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's you got to make a decision at a certain point, right? Like if you're looking to somehow be well, first of all, if you're looking to be a full-time commentator as your like profession, like probably just don't do that. It's not worth it. But if that's what you're trying to do, if you got to, then just be aware you're gonna have, this is a game you're gonna have to play. I think people like Junebug's got a job, right? Like people, I think they know that it's this shitty world once you get to a certain point where capitalism just kind of fucks you, and I think they probably know better than anybody, right? That's kind of how it is, though. Like, you either have to decide, okay, this is a game you're going to play, and you better be okay with it, or just be prepared to accept whatever happens to you in terms of getting gigs, in terms of getting jobs.
That's fair.
That's the way I see it, anyway. I don't know. That's the way I see it.
I mean, that's pretty much how it seems to me too. You've got to, if you're going to do those other events, you have to accept the risk. Very fair point. Well, I think we've covered that pretty well. Thank you for your insight on that, Toph.
Yeah.
And thank you for your question, Punk. Hope you have a good rest of your day, gamer.
Peace out, Punk.
Take care.
See ya. All right. We have a lot of callers. We're going to get to as many as we can. Can't go a whole lot longer, but we do have Sonny calling in. Hello, Sonny. What's your question for us today? Or your take, or whatever.
Wow. Okay. I'm in a room with a bunch of gods here, but so I guess, from a more legal and practical standpoint, Nintendo kind of just has free reign to issue cease and desist as they like. And it's pretty impractical for the community to fight, just this legal battle against such a giant corporation. So if our sort of worst fears are confirmed, and really the only tournaments that are going to be streamed from forward on going to be those licensed by Panda, how should we sort of move forward in the future? Should we just, begrudgingly accept this, which I think maybe the calculus of this decision is behind, or are we never going to see Melee streamed again due to a boycott?
I mean, I think it basically comes down to first, okay, so again, right, echoing Scar here, we don't know what the situation we're in is yet, right? Like, there isn't actually evidence that Nintendo is going to be striking down every single event that doesn't operate under the Panda Cup banner, right? I think it is very realistic that Smash World Tour in particular got singled out because they are a competing product to Panda Cup. We don't know yet that it's going to be Nintendo's way or the highway for every single event, right? We let's not jump to that conclusion. I think what does end up happening, right, is I think very likely Panda Cup is going to probably fucking tank. I'm just going to say it. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get enough. I think their Melee TO was just on earlier, basically saying, "Hey, probably not going to do this thing no more."
Yeah.
I was supposed to commentate it. I'm probably not doing that. So to me, I think we are entering into a situation. This is why I'm saying this is a developing story. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We don't even know if they're gonna. There's a chance that Nintendo tries to fucking, and I think we will have seen through their option select here. But I think there's a realistic chance that they go, "Oh yeah, we didn't mean to shut you guys. Like, check out the Kotaku article. No, that's not what we meant. Blah blah blah." And they fucking, I don't know. Maybe they throw Panda under the bus. They try to put all the bad PR onto Panda and say that we don't know yet. And for me, I think we got to operate as the community. We got to operate in terms of like, let's address things as they come up and let's do what we can, right? And what I mean by that is you've got the Panda Cup finals sitting at how many entrants for Melee and how many more entrants for Ultimate? Like it's like less than 50 entrants for Melee, and I think that number is dropping rapidly. It's the kind of thing where I think it's probably not going to do very well. Nintendo is going to really reassess their like if the scenario plays out the way one might expect, Nintendo's going to have to assess, hey, is this we're putting all this money into this thing and we're not seeing the return on investment. Maybe we just pull the fuck out because this Panda Cup thing didn't work out the way we wanted it to. And then, we're back to playing this game where, again, it's this toxic relationship where we just try to avoid each other. And we've got the Melee community over here and Nintendo over here. I think that is a very likely result. I think that's a very likely end game. And then we're back to square one. Not square zero, but square one. So if you want me to comment on the worst case scenario, yeah, I don't know. The worst case scenario where Nintendo is literally striking down every single event that isn't an officially licensed partner. I don't see evidence that we're there yet. But in that reality, yeah, I mean, TOs are going to have to decide at what dollar figure, it's worth compromising what they believe in or what have you, right? Like, but I don't think we're necessarily there yet.
Yeah, I remember HBox. I was on HBox's stream a little while ago, and he said that if he is still going to go to Panda Cup, he's going to like turn it into like an IMAX feature film and just stall the whole time and have it be like an hour-long set or something like that. I don't wonder if we'll see any more like protests at the Panda Cup.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably I would personally be of the mind just not to give it attention or not give it any spectacle. But if you for some reason have to go or something like that, then yeah, don't. I would say don't keep it interesting, or maybe keep it a little too interesting if you're going to do the HBox route.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Toph said, this is developing. This is something where we don't have all the answers, but that is in some ways a good thing, because that means that what we talked about earlier can still apply. If we are taking action in various ways, if people are continually expressing outrage, if they're continually talking about Panda, if they're continually getting more press, if they're continually getting stuff trending, if they're continually making more happen, making more corporate conversations happen, things like that, that's all good for us. That's a lot of how Evo 2013 happened. We were able to stream. There was just so much of an outcry in a way that I haven't seen since, and that Nintendo had no choice but to pull back. And if we can create a similar type of pushback, or we go into some different type of resistance like Scar was talking about and everyone else was talking about with the smaller events, and we just have more of those. As long as we're staying flexible and we're letting them know this isn't okay and this does affect them in some way, then I think we'll be all right. But again, we don't know the full extent yet, like Toph is saying. So let's do what we can. Let's control what we can. Let's not jump to conclusions too far in advance, because it's like Scar was saying, as soon as we give in to despair, I think things get a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. I feel like Nintendo cares most about their public image.
Right.
And I'm not saying anyone should be like very inflammatory or anything like that. Keep it like, civil. But I feel like if we get their attention with all this outcry instead of like more protests or anything really bad like that, I think that's what will get their attention the most. Not really the revenue that they put into Panda Cup, but more the potential loss from the negative publicity.
Yeah, and everyone's going to push back in the way that's going to feel most comfortable for them. So I encourage people to be creative. We don't always have to write a mean thing on Twitter, although I'm sure that will probably do something too. But in the meantime, we need to stay flexible and do what we can. Use our strength of numbers, use our collective emotion to our best abilities right now. But yeah, we're going to see if we can get a little bit more callers going. Great question, Sonny, and thank you so much for calling in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You guys are great.
Thank you,
Take
Sonny.
care.
Appreciate that. All right, and let's see who we got coming on. It is going to be Roro. What is up, Roro? What you got for us today?
Hello, everyone. So just my question is, well, with people suggesting the idea of top players who are going to the Panda Cup finale to absolutely ruin it by doing like timeout SDs, like, stuff like Bayonetta, Evo stuff. I think this is hilarious, and I think it'd be a great payback. But my concern is, would it do more harm than good? Like, do you think it would result in Nintendo or Panda, whoever, putting their foot down, tightening their grip on the Smash community a bit more, or is this something that top players that are, I guess, locked in to go into the Panda Cup finale should do?
I mean, I guess there's no real way to know, but to me, it's like, is that a battle that they would want to fight? Like, do they get? I don't think that makes. How do I word this? What does it like? I guess I don't really understand what Nintendo would have to gain. Like, is it? Granted, I think they make a lot of decisions where I don't really understand what they have to gain. I don't really understand their timing. Yeah. I think shutting down Smash World Tour at the timing they did, I think is short-sighted. But I just think that like entering into that sort of childish battle with the communities, I don't think that's in Nintendo's best interest. I don't think that's the kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna we're gonna strike you down as a fuck you thing. Like like nobody's job description is like issue fuck yous to the community, right? Like at a certain point you have to justify what you're doing in terms of your company's bottom line. To me, no, I guess I don't really think that it would result in Nintendo putting. I think they might put their foot down with regards to issuing licenses or working with Panda in the future and extending the Panda Cup for more and more years, right? I think if it's a colossal failure, I think they pull out. But I don't think that changes the fundamental reality of how we operate with respect to. I don't think that changes the reality of how we operate with respect to Nintendo versus in terms of the community. Like, I don't think they're gonna suddenly be like, oh, these guys were mean to us by camping at our finals, so we're gonna be mean to them back by C&Ding them. Like, it's like that. I just don't think that's how that works at this scale, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it. I completely. But hey, agree. I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. But like, I'm personally new to the Melee community. I only started watching this year. I've been a big fan, but like considering what Nintendo's done. Not just Melee, I guess just Smash Bros in general is like a lot of it doesn't seem logical at all. So that's why now I'm a bit concerned. But maybe I'm just being a bit too concerned about that.
Nintendo hates.
I think it makes sense.
So yeah. Nintendo hates that. Nintendo hates that there is press that paints them as a villain, right? Like Nintendo, they don't like that. They don't want to be a villain. They want to be the family-friendly. Gaming company that we grew up believing that they were, right? Like that they don't want to be the villain. They want to have a certain level of control over what they, the IP that they own, but they want to do it in a way that they don't want all these articles coming out and all this press on social media painting them to be the bad guy. Like that's not something that they can afford forever, because at a certain point, whoever works at Nintendo, like their boss is going to come and say, hey, why are all the trending stories about Nintendo about us being assholes, right? Like that's not something that the people who work there can afford forever. They can't take like, that's why I say that like our weapon is public backlash. Like that's what we have. like we don't have much. We don't have we don't have the fucking rights to the game the way that they do. They don't have the rights to the broadcast the way they do, but we can blast this out there and we can make them look bad. And there's only, at a certain point it affects them. And if they engage into a battle with us where they're like, oh, it's time to shut down even more Smash tournaments because they camped at our finals, I just don't see that being worth it to them. Now, granted, again, I don't purport to understand all of their decisions. I think they have really weird timing with a lot of the things that they do. But to me, that's not one of my addressing your question about whether I think making a ruckus of the finals. I don't think that does anything. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and to give a little more context, Roar, I think in the past, normally they try to shut things down before things happen. So even in the context of this, like, yeah, they did it late, but they still did it before the event happened. Or in the case of Evo 2013, before the stream happened. Or in the case of like circuits in the past, or like we tried to do like years ago, or even Ninja tried to make an event. When Ninja, was a little more active in a lot of scenes. Nintendo didn't. Nintendo tried to shut that down before it happened. There was once an event happens, it seems like there's not a precedent anyway for them trying to shut anything down. So it would be new, but this is also, I guess, an official Nintendo event in a way. So it could be different. And like Toph said, they don't always make a lot of sense. So it is possible. I think it is a concern.
Anything's possible. Yeah.
Right. But given how it's gone so far, I would say it's not likely. And I think hopefully they have their hands full with the other stuff we're throwing at them to where this is not going to be their primary concern anyway.
Great, thank you for answering. I think that all makes a lot of sense. And now with this new perspective, I hope that if there are any top players that are locked into having to go to the Panda Cup, I hope we see. Well, obviously we don't want to give them too much attention, but I hope that we make a loud enough noise for Nintendo to notice that we're a community that loves this cool game.
Yeah, man, this chunk ain't okay. But hey, thanks for calling in, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, Roro.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and we got one more caller. Looks like
one more caller, and it's gonna be the cheat. Welcome to the program, Mikey.
All right, gamers. How's it?
All right,
stream,
dude. How about that Yingling video?
I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched it either.
You bring him up every time I'm on the show.
I do. I like
it's
to.
Crazy.
I don't know. It's fine, right? It's you like when I bring him up.
Yeah, sure, of course.
No, you bring him up. You bring him up plenty. You used to bring him up plenty.
I know. Yeah, I do for sure.
Okay.
He is important to me. Yeah. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as Bobby. I feel like where I don't know what the Nintendo response is going to be here, right? I think it's uncertain, but they're kind of weighing a couple of different things. And I think yesterday and today have really sort of changed the equation where Blur was sort of right that Nintendo was, going around to all of these tournaments and kind of insisting that they get licensed. And this was true whether or not we heard about it publicly. So there are some tournaments that did not publicly get licensed by Nintendo, but we're going through that process. So they were getting around to people, but I think that was happening in this sort of like gray space where there was at least some like path forward to working amicably together under sort of the Nintendo roof, and that I think no longer exists. At least not without the terms significantly changing from how they were before. So so I don't know. What they're really weighing is whether to basically kill Melee broadcasting and major event organizing as we know it,
and good luck
versus just kind of backing away and leaving everything alone. And I think Toph, I think you were kind of touching on this earlier. You're right. There are plenty of people at Nintendo who would love for that to be the case. But at this time, I just do not know which side of the scale it falls on. And I really hope it's on the side of leaving us alone. But that kind of leads me to my question. I mean, I think Bobby was talking a lot about how we sort of like subsist in that environment. But I think how we grow is a little bit more ambiguous. And I would kind of like to get your guys' takes on that. But I think part of it is like we almost have to become a community where our growth is predicated on the fact that we are this sort of like thing that is being constantly like kicked and pushed to the side by Nintendo, and we like persist because of it, Like to me that's almost a selling point, where you want to be a part of it because it is like a protest.
It's an underdog story.
Yeah. And I think if you didn't realize before yesterday, you now know that like your existence in this community is like almost political. And I think that a good way to act moving forward is to sort of view it as an act of mutual aid to be a part of the community. Because being here, it helps each other. We help each other in this community. And I think that we can make that kind of our strong suit where, maybe we don't really need sponsors to survive in the space. Broadcast going away would be a huge dent in that. We don't, need Nintendo to come down and give us our blessing. Like, maybe it's just enough to like subsist off of us helping each other in whatever way we can, whether that's like crowdfunding, just getting involved, going to your locals, running events, stuff like that. So I don't know. I think we're pushing to a place where things are going to change either way.
Yes.
But I guess I'm curious to hear what you guys think in terms of like the path forward for growth within the community, because I want to grow.
Yeah.
I know that Melee has this
Love the passion.
insane potential.
Yeah.
To be so much more than it is now, even as great as the community is as it stands. I just like, I can't help myself but to want to push forward and do more. And I'm looking for the path.
Scar said something very similar to me when I got him. Actually, I was at the Summit studio. I think it was Smash Summit. Which Smash Summit was it when Big House Online got canceled? Was that
like 9 or
9 or 10 or 11?
Yeah, it would have been 10. Yeah,
10, it would have been 10.
the online one.
Yeah. Right. Well, 10 was the one where we brought we created sets that completely resembled every single player's room, but they were all in the studio, and we had a very complicated ring setup connecting them all, but they were not playing online. Right, I remember that one.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Great job with all that, by the way.
You know what? Actually, fuck it.
Really
I don't care anymore. It was online.
Yeah.
We're gonna say it out in the open.
Right. So your words, not mine. No, Scar said something really similar to me, which was basically to the tune of like, yeah, like this kind of is our story, right? And I think we're in a special moment right now, in the way that we were in a special moment around the time of Evo 2013, right? Like we've been here before, and like that was a moment in time, and it generated a lot of press. And I mean, I think if there's something that people love, it's a fucking underdog story, right? Like that's like we're in a funny spot, and I do, again, I always want to shout out, like, for example, the PM guys, because that we say stuff like this and they go, you guys aren't really underdogs, like we're the underdogs. And yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. That's totally the case. But I think like we're about as rebellious as we can be for being an official game. And I think you're right, man. I mean, I think that for me, it's something that's beautiful, and it's something that I want to continue to be a part of for that reason, because people, I think people really resound with, I don't know what to call it. Like in this case, well, being a part of something, right? Being a part of something. And I think we do got to get creative. Like, I definitely don't know what the answers are right now. Right. But I think you're right. Like, I think there's a way to make it compelling. There's a way to make that story and that, like, that struggle. Like, there's a way to do Melee content, in even in the world where we have to play hardball with Nintendo a lot more often. I think that can 100% just be the case. I don't know what that looks like yet. But even the suggestions that we've already seen, like with Scar basically saying, make it a just chatting protest stream, and just, hey, we're just in a building and we've got a little podcast set up, and we're talking about how much we fucking hate capitalism. And there's some guys playing a video game on a CRT behind us. Wonder what the hell that is. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are people that would tune into that and just be like, what the fuck is this shit? Right? Like, I don't know. That's an idea. I don't have any others, but that's kind of where I'm at. And, I think for me as a streamer, I am very much interested. Like, if this all goes south and I can't go to fucking tournaments in the same capacity that I currently am, in the worst case scenario, I'll find a way to make it interesting for myself. And I'm sure that, a lot of the very talented people we have in the community will find their own ways to do so as well. But yeah, I have no idea what that looks like right now.
Yeah. I think Zamu was right too, when he said that you gotta play the game, we can't allow this to make us kind of shy away from
Right.
things. I think we have to be out there. We have to keep things going in whatever way we can, whether that's going to locals, running
Right.
whatever you can.
Right.
Like I mean, I think everyone's kind of said it today. Like, now is not the time to be discouraged. It fucking sucks.
It fucking sucks.
And the cruel irony of it is that these moments where things appear to be falling apart are the moments where the broader sort of internet sphere has its eyes on us.
Right.
And I think how we respond is important. Keep making noise. That's really the only defense mechanism that we have. Keep helping your local community in whatever way you can. I just can't stress it enough. This is a fucking crushing blow on a lot of levels, but on a lot of other levels, it is a very weird opportunity.
Yes, weird opportunity is a good way to word it, I think.
Yeah, but it's there.
I'm with that. Yeah, I don't know. We have to keep, it sounds fucking, yeah, it sounds wild, but we gotta keep doing what we're doing. I think there's no better time. If you got, we gotta play the fucking game. And I mean that in both senses, right? I think the more people that are aware of this side of the game, this ugly side that we would really rather not want to deal with most of the time, I think even just fucking what we're doing with regards to getting more people aware of this and how fucked it is, I think that's really good. But we also do got to literally play Super Smash Brothers Melee. There has never been a better time to hop on Slippy and fuck up some net play Falcos. That's what needs to happen right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? That's what keeps us going at the end of the day. We can't lose that. If we lose that, we truly have nothing.
Yep. It's the lifeblood for sure.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to become disengaged.
Agreed.
It's hard. I feel you know what I feel like? You know what this reminds me of? Is watching election results roll in. It's fucking it's fucking crazy, just constantly being online, seeing the most depressing shit possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think you can allow yourself to become disenfranchised. I think the Melee community is pretty good about this, to be honest.
Pretty good about it. We are pretty good about it.
Our bullshit sensors went off yesterday in a really big way. I'm really glad that we kind of all coalesced around this in the way that we did. So yeah, we'll be fine eventually.
We'll be fine.
They can't kill us. We're like roaches.
We are like roaches in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. In particular, the most notable that we're kind of small and we scuttle around and we kind of go
the odor also.
The odor, right? Especially when you step on us and
yeah. Exactly. Exactly the same. I don't know. That's really all I have for you guys.
Thanks, man. Well, very awesome to hear from you, Mikey. Thanks for calling in, buddy, and have a great rest of your day.
Peace. Love you. Bye.
Love you, man. I think that's all we're doing for callers. There's 8 gazillion of you in the server. I unfortunately need to get going to boxing, or I need to get ready to go to boxing, because I train 2 times a day. Unlike Hugo, who probably only trains 1 time a day, if that.
Ooh,
I don't know. I have no idea. But I do need to do that. I don't know. I might go live later after boxing. After I'm done with that, I definitely want to talk with all y'all. Do some fun stuff too. I might actually literally raid Hugs. By the way, Hugs is actually doing some chess boxing practice. And I mean, I think a lot of you will probably, there's obviously a million Melee streams you guys can check out as well. I think Mango Lake just went live. But yeah, I'm really happy with the discussions that came out of today, and I love, in particular, I love always love getting to hear from Bobby. I was tuning into a stream a bit earlier when I was out and about, and just kind of lurking in chat. And I think he was saying some really, really good stuff. And in particular, like, you know, obviously that's the energy we got to have, you know, like, because that's the energy, like, as soon as we're like, yeah, I guess this just fucking sucks and we can't do anything. It's like, yeah, you know, when it comes to, you know, the corporate world, the way corporate law is written and all this stuff, yeah, I mean, Nintendo holds the power. That's the unfortunate reality. But at the same time, there's shit we can do. There's definitely shit we can do, and there's a lot of shit we're going to be doing. And remember, I don't know. I think there's so much that could happen in the upcoming days. I'm very interested to see how this story kind of unfolds, because I don't think we've seen the end of what's basically going to happen. So excited. Yeah, I don't know. Like, afraid and excited and everything in between. But thank you for joining me on this episode, PP.
Absolutely. Good to be here in one of the most interesting times in Melee history.
Agreed. Everybody tuning in the chat, I'm gonna start a little bit of a raid for Hugs. Of course, my opponent next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. So hope to see some of you guys actually at that event. By the way, excited to
Good luck.
Engage with Hugo in battle in a medium that nobody can see in D. No one can say, "Hey, you're not allowed to punch each other with your fists," because we own those.
Love that.
I think I'm like pretty sure. I don't know. Maybe they
will find
maybe they
out.
found a way. Maybe they found a way to put a trademark on that. Maybe
Nintendo
Dana
comes
White's
in
like,
with the
actually, hey, you know
Punch-Out.
what? Yeah, Nintendo comes with the punch out and says, "Hey, actually, buddy." Anyway, all right, y'all. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Radio Melee. To all of you watching on YouTube as well. Normally we do this on Tuesdays. We're in a bit of an off season right now, but Radio Melee will be back as regularly scheduled before you know it. And until then, this has been Radio Melee signing out.
See ya.